Hello. Uh, Hi guys. Welcome to the session of CA SiteMinder. This is a course for access management product of CA that is called as SiteMinder. So in this course, we will find out how we can implement SiteMinder in our organization, how SiteMinder can be implemented to integrate our different application, how it can be used for providing authentication and authorization to my user base in my organization. Okay, so this is the first aim to study this course, to go through this course, and we can learn this thing by this course using this SiteMinder product, how we can implement this thing and how we can use our organization resource to be centralized, and we can manage from a single point of time for all user access, means all user authentication and authorization process. Okay, so this is all about SiteMinder, how we can do, means what or things we can do with SiteMinder. Okay, so as we know that in market we have different access management product, but still we prefer for the SiteMinder. Reason is the SiteMinder provides us the stability with lesser infrastructure, with lesser amount of infrastructure it provide to us. Along with that, it provides us a basic feature, means the basic feature of means incorporating different user store for different type of application. Suppose I have 7 application or 8 application, and I want that I need to maintain 8 different user store, each application having a user store. So that configuration also I can do in SiteMinder. That is the main advantage over other access management product. Along with that, I can map my user authentication and authorization a different directory structure over there. So it doesn't mean that for all user I have to store in a particular user store, and SiteMinder will use that user store to protect all its applications. So here you can use multiple number of user store, and you can use those user store for your application. So this is the main benefit which SiteMinder provide when you use SiteMinder as access management product, or in on top of the other management product. The first thing and second thing, you got that idea why we need the SiteMinder, means what is the basic advantage of SiteMinder over there. And the third component, if I say SiteMinder provide a federation process where you want that cross-domain applications need to be integrated with SiteMinder, then it provide a federation process. Okay, so let me do one thing. So first thing we will means we here we going to study about how to implement SiteMinder. Okay, the second thing is why we need SiteMinder. Okay, so why we need SiteMinder, as I told you, it required less infrastructure for its implementation. It can use for integrating number of user store, and can use for other and that store can be used for different application. Oh, okay, so this means that it doesn't require all users should be present in a particular user store, means a single user store or a central, like only one user store that will be used for other applications, means my application protection. So it will provide me an option to use different user store where I can store my user data for application specific, and I can use that one instead of storing all user data in a single store of repository. Okay, so this is the main advantage. Here you can get an option to segregate authentication and authorization process. Okay, so SiteMinder provide you the flexibility to use different user store for for authentication and different user store for authorization. No need to store the user data in one place, and you want to use that as a authentication and authorization process. That is also its biggest advantage of SiteMinder, which is providing as of now. Okay, then it provide a federation process. Okay, this federation process can be used for cross-domain applications. So instead of, if you go for other identity management product, then it will provide you to install a separate product for this one, separate product means separate component for the federation process. But SiteMinder can provide this federation process inbuilt within this one, within this SiteMinder product. So no need to go for install any other component. Okay, so it is the best advantage of SiteMinder, why we need in the industry practice. The other option for why we need this is a stable product. Okay, stable product. So once you have configured SiteMinder, then after that no need to you will not face any such type of issue if there is no change in your application side. So you will find out, means, stability in this product without having any issue, without giving a so much issue or complicacy after implementation of the SiteMinder process. So these are the basic advantage of SiteMinder, why we learn the SiteMinder. Okay, so in this process or in this course, what we will going to learn, let me show you the course content of this. So what all thing we will learn in this process, how it can be generated, what all things can be implemented in this course. Okay, so first thing is, in the SiteMinder course we will go through some introduction, agenda, objectives, objective SiteMinder, why we learn this thing. Then we will go through all the basic of SiteMinder, means what is SiteMinder, why it is beneficial, what components it has as a primary object in SiteMinder, and what all feature it provides. So we can cover those things in the second or third lecture like that. Then we will see that SiteMinder deployment process, how it will deployed in one environment, what all component it is required to deploy in your environment. Okay, so after deployment section we will go through the configuration process. We will configure all our SiteMinder section, means we will configure our agent, we will configure our web server side, we will configure our SiteMinder policy server side, we will configure our ACO object, HCO object, different object. So when you go through the course line, you will find out what all this meaning of ACO and HCO and agent model, groups and all. Okay, so then we will configure different user store, we can provide authentication store, we can create a authorization store, we will map those stores between each other. Okay, then we will go to the next step as a protecting on a web application. As you know that SiteMinder provide different way to protect a web application. The what all way it provide, we will see all those ways, means all those type of means process, how it provide us to go for different approach of web application protection. So what all type of a web application protection it provides, we will go through those. Then we will go through the administration of CS SiteMinder, means how we can administrate the CS SiteMinder, find out or troubleshoot our issues, what all things we can do from CS SiteMinder screen. Okay, so all those things we will go. Then we will configure a single sign-on process, means two different application we can create, and two different application we can protect, and we can provide a single sign-on between them. Okay, so within one credential, how we can pass through different application without giving credential at each level, means once you authenticated, how you pass the session from one application to other application. Those part also we will cover in this. Okay, then we will go through export and import process, means migration of environment, migration of configuration from one environment to other environment, that we will go through. And then then in this process of configuring advanced policy, how can you go create a policy and all that process we'll see some part of password policy, how a password policy can be saved, password policy will be created, then the managing reports and all, then SiteMinder other feature and troubleshooting the SiteMinder. So in this course we will go through all this concept, contents, everything, and we will cover out all those part of SiteMinder, which will help us to understand the whole SiteMinders, and how to help us to work in the SiteMinder in our organization, in my project, or in the project where it is really needed to implement the SiteMinder. Okay, along with that I will explain you in the due course of time how the SiteMinder architecture is, what all architectural process it follow to implement this thing, this whole SiteMinder for web application protection. Okay, so this is all about SiteMinder and course content what we are going to cover in this session. Okay, so in today's part we will in today's lecture, in the starting lecture, we will see what is the need of SiteMinder already explained to you. Okay, so today's part we will see the some feature of SiteMinder, requirement of SiteMinder, how the request access will flow in an application. Those part we will cover in this session. Okay, and then we will, once we cover all those things of request access application protection, then we will see in the SiteMinder console what all component are there in a console, what all thing we can do. So all those things we can do from the SiteMinder console part. Okay, so the basic objective of learning this course is how, means how, what is the technical aspect, why we need SiteMinder, what is the implementation process for this one, what is the benefit, and the what is the security aspect. So if I say SiteMinder is a normal a platform which provide us to secure our application, secure our portal, whether it is present in a internet process or in external application or extranet process. So no, doesn't matter where my application is present, but if I say a SiteMinder implementation, its meaning is that it should protect my all applications. Okay, so protecting application mean it should authenticate, it should authorize, it should provide my user to a secure access to different application. Okay, means without any problem, the user should not face any problem when he access one application, when he authenticate against one application. It should not face any such type of issue when the application is protected with SiteMinder and the user need to access that one, and my SiteMinder will decide that what access I should provide to the user on that application, so that the user will do some activities, the activity assigned to the user, it should be performed by user on the application. Means the access required for user to manage in the application side, those things also SiteMinder will control. Okay, and as you know that this is an access management product, the main feature of access management product is the single sign-on process. So it will provide you a seamless single sign-on for all type of user what is present in your environment. Okay, so these all are for few things about SiteMinder. As you know that you must have worked on access management product, so all those things you know better. But here I explained you why we need SiteMinder. Here are some few points on SiteMinder, what all basic feature it provide, what are the extra advantage it provide in relation to, in comparison to different access management product in my organization. So if I say one more thing, say what is the main advantage of SiteMinder, why we need the SiteMinder here. Here it is. One is it operates across multiple server platform. Doesn't matter which type of platform your project is going to implement. Means whether it is a Windows platform, whether it is a Linux, whether it is a Solaris, doesn't matter. SiteMinder will be implemented in any of the server platforms. Okay. Along with that, it can control your centralized control of user access privileges. Means the user directory which you going to configure with SiteMinder, it will provide access to, it will control your user access to different application. Mean it will find out whether the user is means authorized or authenticated against my user directory. Along with that, it is authorized to access my target system or not. When you find out that yes, the user is authorized, then only it provides access to the user. So this is called a centralized process of user access privileges. And the most and very important part, and very it means the, if I say interesting part of SiteMinder, is easy to deploy with less infrastructure. If I say this is the good part for me also, when I see that SiteMinder, and when I started learning SiteMinder, this is the best feature I ever seen. So instead of my installer of taking this much of big size, it is very less and it requires very less infrastructure to install. Okay, so in the similar way, it provide different policy based security. Means security code is removed. Means policy based security, the advantage is that your some application having login screens, right, for user authentication. But once you log in with SiteMinder, you need to close your login process. So whatever the session will provide the SiteMinder, that will be passed to your application. So no need to create a code or no need to create a login screen for your application or login process, authentication process in your application. That will be handled by SiteMinder. So these are some feature of SiteMinder provide us. Okay. uh, so before going to our SiteMinder concept and all, so first thing, I need to explain you what is a request flow process in SiteMinder. Okay, so once I explain this thing, after that we'll see how this thing are there in SiteMinder's screen, and then we can see. Okay, first thing is that when the user or the requester a request for a resource, the resource request will directly, means when you hit for application, it will directly go to the web agent and the web server of the particular application where it has hosted, right? So the hosted web server, we implemented SiteMinder, so we have installed a SiteMinder agent, means a gatekeeper. So the gatekeeper will interrupt the request. Okay, once the gatekeeper interrupt the request, it will check whether the user, whoever accessing my application, is authenticated or not, any authentication session is present for the user or not. So once it is there, it will allow the user. If it is not there, it will directly contact to my SiteMinder policy server whether the URL, whatever the accessing the user, is protected or not. If it is the SiteMinder policy server will check its policy and reply back that yes, this URL is protected. Once this is protected, again the SiteMinder agent will do a cross check with which type of policy, means which type of policy and authentication scheme is implemented on this resource. So once the agent got the reply that yes, this is authenticated or authenticated by the authentication scheme of basic or SAML or federated or X509 or a form based, doesn't matter which type of authentication scheme you are using for your application. So this reply got from SiteMinder policy server to agent. Once the agent will receive that one, it will directly throw the same type of login screen to the user. Okay, what the user will do, user will provide its credentials, provide its secret to authenticate. Once it has been provided to the agent will directly send those data to policy server will check against the directory server for authentication. Once this authentication is done, then what happens, the SiteMinder agent will take the session cookie and SiteMinder will create a authenticated cookie, the SM session cookie. So due course of time we will understand what is this session cookie and all. So it will create a session cookie. That session cookie will be read by agent, and then it will allow access to the application. So this is all about SiteMinder process flow. If you say, or you can say this thing, it is a basic concept of a request flow when you implement access management in your application, in your uh, protecting an application. So it doesn't matter which type of access management product you are using. When request will come, this type of process will follow. Okay, so let's go to our environment and we will see that how this thing is happening, and due course of time what all thing we will learn in SiteMinder. Okay, so let me do one. You can see that this is my administrative console of CS SiteMinder. Okay, so when you install CS SiteMinder in your environment, the CS SiteMinder will provide you the login screen or administrative screen through which you can do all the stuff for your application protection and managing and centralizing your user sessions. Okay, means user directory, user processes, all those things you can manage from here. So here you have to be an administrator to log in this one, and as you see there's this screen and I am using the super user. So when you install SiteMinder provide you a super user. Okay, I mean after installing super user, okay, this is SiteMinder. So this super user name is itself called as SiteMinder. Okay, so I'm logging with this user. So once you log into your administrative console, what happens, you will see a lot of tab in the right hand side which is contain all the tasks for you. Okay, so these are the tasks we are going to perform in SiteMinder. So first thing is called as infrastructure, second thing is called as policy, federation, reports, administration and all. Okay, so these are the tasks SiteMinder can perform. So infrastructure tab contain my user store, whatever the user store I can create, how user store can mapping can be happen, how authentication and authorization directory can map, all those things you can define over your user directory. Okay, so let me show you. One is the user directory, what I have configured in here. So this is a directory server which I have configured for this one. When you see over here, the directory server is mapped to my SiteMinder, and it when you access your directory server, it requires some super user to access the root user. Okay, and along with that, whatever the configuration required is already there, and how you want, what is the root directory setting you have given. So all the setting you have described over here. When you go and check whether the connectivity is there or not, so you can find out. Okay, so here it see the connectivity is with my directory server is present, so I got whole all the container which is present in my directory server. Okay, if I want to search, I have given some a unique attribute based on which I can search the user, so I have given over there, and I search with that unique attribute, so I find out all the user present in my directory server. So this is the process how you can configure your user directory with SiteMinder. So here it allow you to create different type of user directory. Okay, so here I have created one CA directory, one is integrated with OUD, one is the database directory. So it doesn't matter which type of directory you want to create, you can create over here. Okay, in similar case, you can do a mapping of authentication and authorization directory. See, I have created a authentication and authorization mapping of two different directory with one universal ID. So it doesn't matter, the same ID should be present. So this type of thing you can do, which provide you the advantage of other access management product, where you can say means streamline your process flow of user application access. Okay, this is all about your directory server or user store and all. The second thing, it provide you the host, means when you install your SiteMinder and the agent in different machines, when you install your different machine, then there you have to make those machines and means trusted for SiteMinder. So this configuration, when you do a configuration, all the trusted host will come to your trusted host section. You will find out how many hosts, how many agent hosts present in your SiteMinder site, to with which SiteMinder is configured. Okay, so that will be identified with a object called as HCO object. So mean due course of time we will find out what is HCO object. Okay, so this is the process how can you use your agent groups or agent part to make SiteMinder as a trusted process. Similarly, whatever the agent you want, you can install the agent, you can group the different agents. It means same type of agent you have. Suppose you have five different systems which are present in five different domains, so you have created five different agent, but you want that when an application will require common application is there, then you can go and create a group of means agent to a single agent group, and you can protect with that to the your common application. So whenever the wherever the position, wherever the location the user will access, the group agent will come into picture and do all the process for you. So that option is available over here. You have to create your agent configuration object. So similar way you have to create a different thing in your agent part. The second step, if you go, you will find out this is called as application tab, where you can process, means you can do your applications, you can configure application for user protection. Okay, application protection. Here I have configured two different applications. The first application is a application process, and that application, when you see over here, it has given that with which agent you want to configure, that agent name you have to given over here, what is the user directory you want to map for this application, and what is the authentication scheme. So as you know that authentication scheme provide us the way of means asking user to provide this credentials. So here I have created some authentication scheme, means when you go and create different authentication scheme, you will find out what all authentication scheme SiteMinder can provide. So in this way you can authentication scheme can be created. When you go to your application, you can use those authentication scheme for your application. Okay, so when you protect your application, you can have to define different thing over here, means the user directory, with which user directory it is protected, what all authentication scheme it is using, with which agent, what is the resource filter, which application you want to protect, which application you don't want to protect. Here I have protected all, as it is a demo application I have created. So you can define over here what all things you want to protect, what all things you don't want to protect. Okay, I mean the segregation of resources you can do through your this SiteMinder admin UI console for your application. So these all things are possible with SiteMinder. Along with that, you have to create all your response variables. Roles means which type of user you want that should access this application. Mean the user segregation for accessing application, that also can be possible. So you can do all those things with SiteMinder. Okay. So in this way you can go for application protection and all. Okay, we will study each component individually in this course and find out how this can be done, how this configuration can be done, and how this configuration will helpful for us to doing all those stuffs. Okay, so these all are the component present in the SiteMinder. Okay, so SiteMinder provide you two different approach of application protection. One is application based, means EPM model, enterprise policy model, and second thing is the domain model, means the policy domain model. Policy domain model, you have to create individual things, and after that you can segregate or consolidate everything within the single application. So these are the doesn't matter right now, don't worry about those things. We will see how those things are happening during the course period. Okay, in similar way you can go and create reports for your section. You can go and administrate this UI. You can delegate your administration process from one administrator to your lower administrator with different privileges. Okay, so these component, this thing also can be possible with CS SiteMinder. Okay, so this is the process how you can do and go through the SiteMinder's consoles. So let me show you one more thing how this application protection happens. Okay, so this is my Apache web server integrated environment. So I have Apache in this. So right now what I will do, I will click a demo app process. Okay, so as I shown you over here, my demo application, so yes, this is my demo application, which is a protected application with basic authentication scheme and my user directory. Okay, so when I click on my demo application, so what happens, my browser send a request to my web server, and my web server send means the agent present in the web server check that whether the user is the request which is coming is protected or not. Okay, so once it check this thing, what it does, it will directly send me the check for the request protected or not. As I shown you the request protected, one second, this diagram I have shown you how your request is flowing. Okay, in similar way SiteMinder does the same process. It check for the user authentication authorization process. It is not there, the application is protected, so it send me the login screen. Once I logged in with the session, okay, once I clicked my session, so what happens, it directly send me to the login screen, means the home page of my process, home page of my screen. Okay, so this is the way how you can protect your different application for this one. If you want that, I can show you one more thing. When you land on your page, the SiteMinder created a session cookie for you with the domain name. So it doesn't matter, you can means protect your application with cross domain, also with cross domain cookie and all. So this is the process how you can configure your SiteMinder agent for your application. Okay, and this is called as application protection, not a single sign-on. So for single sign-on, let me show you one process called a single sign-on. And what is single sign-on? So if I say single sign-on, single sign-on is the process where what happens, let me show you. I have two applications right here. As I shown you, I have two applications protected. Okay, one is application is called demo app, and other application is called as the test app. Okay, so when you access your one application, means when you go to your application and check for your application one, the application one is protected with the user store called as SMPS user store. Okay, so let me see what is the server started or not. Okay, yeah, done. So So it is protected with the user store, and when you go to the second application is also protected with the same user store. So means that if you want that application, second application should be protected by different user store, that also you can configure. But okay, so what happened, if you want you can create different directory for this application protection, doesn't matter, but you have those. If I show you in the directory structure, means user directory part, in user directory part you have something called as your universal id. Okay, that universal id should be present into different your other user directory, and that should be having the same user type or same attribute type, so that when user authenticate and the session cookie will be generated, that will pass the user authentication and the detail user detail to your different application. Okay, so it doesn't matter what type of sso and how you are going to configure your sso, doesn't matter, but your application should be protected, and with and the user directory should be in such a way that the universal id of the user directory should be passed from one application to other application. Those processes are there, you can configure those things, doesn't matter. Here I have configured sso with two of my application. Okay, so this is one application called as demo app. I have logged into the session, so similar way if I go and access my second application, it will allow me directly, means without creating any problem, it will directly allow me to my application dashboard. So if you can see how I can get come to know that this is the sso process or not. Okay, so if I open up, then you can check that the same session cookie which is present in your first application is, if you compare these two things, the first application and second application come as same. Okay, when you go to the other screens, here I have something called as contacts and all. Here you will find out the what the user logged in with the session that is passed to the my application. So this is called as the sso process. Okay, so this is the process of sso which you are going to implement with SiteMinder. So in similar way, when you find out what all things with SiteMinder, as I shown you how SSO SiteMinder provides within the same session and within same means different application with same protected user. And if I go to the SiteMinder console again, you will find out those things, means the application how I protected and all. So when we start the course, when you go through each topic wise the course, you will find out how this thing is implemented, how this thing can be integrated with SiteMinder. Okay, and one more thing SiteMinder provides you an easy option is that migrating its configuration. Okay, so this is the command where you can find out what all components are present in my SiteMinder, because this provide as me interactive console, like we are creating, means the numbering system process, where you can just type the command, you can find out how that components are present, what all components present, you can find out all those components from here. Okay, and we can you can export that file also, you can export that component, you can re-import those components in different environments. See over here what all component it is showing. One is the CA, means the normal certificates and all. Then it is the EPM model, as I told you, two different way of application protection. One is called as EPM, another is called as policy domain. Okay, so it's the EPM model where you can import or export all the EPM model components. After that all federation stuff come, means whatever the federation process you have implemented in SiteMinder, that you can do. Other means SiteMinder policies, other policies you can do from here. You can export and import other thing. If you have SPS level, means secure proxy level, if you are using in SiteMinder, then you can go for SPS part where you can export and import. Okay, so all those things you can do over here. Suppose I will, what I will do, I will directly do type the number 96. Okay, once you type the number 96, it will so ask you the other list what you want to see over here. Okay, suppose I type A, you will find out again it will ask the whatever the agent you want, means this 96 is for agent. You want to see what type of agent and how many agents are present in your environment. Okay, so that you can see over here. I just came out of that. I will put a L and hit it. You will see that these are the agent profile present over here, means this many type of agent you can configure. And and the class of agent you can find over here. What is the class of agent? Okay, so this is the process, means this is the thing the SiteMinder provides. Okay, so to fetch all the data, to fetch the detail. Okay, see, as I search the how many agents are present in my environment, it has been listed out. So these all are the things when you want to migrate your component from one environment to other environment. So no need to means worry about that, how you migrate, how you do those things. So SiteMinder provide you all the options, and along with that the component administrative process and all you have seen over here. So in this total course, so we will means go each stepwise, each aspect, each of the object present in the SiteMinder, and we will consider all the topic wise, and we will provide you we will show you, I mean I will show you how this thing has been created in SiteMinder, how this thing can be integrated, and all those components I will show you due course of time and during this course period. Okay, so this is all about this course, how SiteMinder work and what SiteMinder is, and what is the console type, and what all things we are going to cover in the whole course. That is all about this thing. So this is the first video of this series, and in consecutive video, in consecutive lecture, we will complete and we will consider each topic, and which topic wise we will find out how we can do all those stuff. Okay, so till this point of time, then for today's lectures, that's all. And for from continuation lecture, we will find out means first topic is called as what is the process, means the concept of CSI SiteMinder, and rest all we will see means later topics. So till then, bye bye. Happy learning.